Hi again, art friends. We're back with another book review. This week we are looking at Lessons in Classical Painting by Juliette Aristides. I have already covered a number of Juliette Aristides books, including Classical Drawing Atelier, Classical Painting Atelier, and Lessons in Classical Drawing. If you'd like to see those reviews, check the links below. I'm going to go ahead and review this book and show you what it looks like on the inside. I'll let you know who I think it's for, and I'll also make a basic comparison to this book as well as her other books. Lessons in Classical Painting. So this is the companion, but it does not have a companion DVD, and it's set up a little bit differently. But here's that table of contents. This one has 4 chapters and 11 lessons. So there are multiple lessons in each chapter. There's a discussion, and then there are the lessons at the end. So chapter 1 is value pattern arrangements in gray, and then to kind of give you a preview of the lessons that are in there, there's a poster, value poster study, and then a tonal underpainting. So everything's going to be in values there, no color exactly. Chapter 2, form painting. So painting in order to make it look round, as opposed to trying to create depth in a landscape or a room or that kind of a thing. So you're trying to make something look round. The lessons for that are value sphere painting. Chapter 3 is temperature, unlocking the secrets of color. So it's really about warm and cool and not so much about full-on color. Lesson 5, warm and cool painting from life. And lesson 6, limited palette portrait painting. Lesson 7, mastering trompe l'oeil. And lesson 8, a master copy. And then finally, chapter 4, color the palette of nature. And so this is all color theory. Lesson 9 is painting a full chroma object. Lesson 10, floral painting with a color wash underpainting. And lesson 11, figure painting from life. So this outline for the curriculum really slowly tiptoes you into everything. So you're going to have really, if you follow this, you're going to have really great control over your colors and your work. There's a lot of discussion about all the concepts. So if you don't want to just flip through the pictures and read the instructions in the lessons, there's a lot for you to digest in terms of the ideas behind this book, the history, the meaning of everything. And then finally, lesson 1, value poster study. And the palette for this, titanium white, raw umber, and ivory black. And it looks like that's it. So, it's kind of similar to one of my first lessons in foundations of oil painting using burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and white. The raw umber is warm, the ivory black is cool, and then white is white, obviously. Lesson 2, again in the same chapter, is creating a tonal underpainting. So this looks like a burnt umber. Setting up a still life, drawing, applying an imprimatura, so spreading some brown over, and you can still see the drawing through afterwards, wiping out highlights, so this is kind of like reductive drawing. And chapter 2, form painting, the senses of touch and sight combined. How to light your subjects, so when you're working from life, either people, rooms, still lives. So really great discussion for that. And lesson 3, the value sphere painting, adjusting lighting, and so this is black, white, and raw umber only. So you're doing an imprimatur with that, and then mixing the black and white to create the values of the sphere. Then lesson 4 is form painting. There's a basic palette introduced here. It's getting into kind of a wide palette without a lot of color discussion yet. So the idea is to first make your black and white underpainting and then begin to add color to that black and white underpainting. So it's using a grisaille, and this is not glazing over the top, so it's not necessarily using oil to make it transparent, but just adding the color on the top and using the tonal underpainting for that. Is understanding temperature relationships, the illusion of color with warm and cool. So it's using just very basic colors to give the illusion of more colors. And on to lesson 5, warm and cool painting. So there we go with burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and white. It's a really fantastic palette for just exploring warm and cool. Creating a poster study. And there's just, this looks like a full color painting. If I lean this up a little bit, it looks like a full color painting, but you really don't need a lot of color when you have warm and cool to imply the feeling of color. So there it is, finished. And lesson 6, limited palette portrait painting. A portrait is a really good one for a limited palette because there are limited colors in a face. So there is a step-by-step, although I feel like, this is pretty tricky to exactly show step-by-step unless you're working from the same reference or the same model. Lesson 7 is trompe-l'oeil. So this is a really great example of a trompe-l'oeil because it's made to look like you're standing in front of this border. This piece of wood goes back in perspective and that these things are actually sitting inside of it. So it looks like it's actually right there in front of you at scale. The next lesson is doing a master copy, how to select the image. Probably this palette that's listed down here is pretty good for most master paintings because they didn't have a lot of pigments available to them. Recommends doing a color study before moving on to the actual painting. And then here is finally chapter 4, which is pretty much color theory and getting into more intense colors. Lesson 9, painting a full chroma object. This is kind of like the lesson 3 of foundations of oil. So you're looking for a subject that is really brightly colored. Floral painting with a color wash underpainting. I think I've heard of this called dead color, which dead color sounds like it would be grisaille, like black and white, but dead color is actually just placing the hue of the object. So rather than having the roundness and the value, you start with pink, blue, and kind of this neutral green in the background. So it's really starting with the color or with the hue instead of starting with the form. And finally, lesson 11, figure painting from life. It goes into all the stages, and I think this is meant to be seen as the culmination of everything. Definitely in ateliers, when you get to the point that you are painting figures from life, that's kind of the last stage of the atelier program. So there we have it. There's an afterword here. There's a little more, but nothing in terms of like something unique in the index. So here we have lessons in classical painting and lessons in classical drawing. These are really great. The other books have a lot more history lessons, a lot of philosophy, and definitely a lot of the same information in terms of what happens in a classical atelier and how to kind of give yourself that education. But I would say that these two books really lead you more step by step through the whole thing. So this is something more that rather than needing to read a lot and understand the whole idea before putting it into place, you could just start at the beginning. You could read a chapter. You could do the lessons at the end one at a time. I would recommend, spending a year or two on these books, something like that. But yeah, this is something that is more, I think, accessible if you're trying to look for self-study and something to lead you really step by step through all of that. Hey, thank you so much for checking out this book with me today. I hope that you found this review helpful. If there are other books that you would like to see reviewed, leave it in the comments below. Thank you, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.